The chamber was enormous. It floated in space around a dying star, and inside, beings from 127 different worlds gathered to talk about peace. Ambassador Day stood at the human podium, his hands gripping the edges so tight his knuckles turned white. He had been doing this job for 15 years. 15 long years of talking, negotiating, and compromising. Always compromising. Today was different. Today, everything would change. The crisis had started 3 weeks ago. The Vraxian Empire sent warships to 3 human colony worlds on the edge of known space. They did not ask permission. They did not send warnings. They simply arrived and declared the planets belonged to them now. 2 million humans lived on those worlds. Farmers, teachers, children, families. All of them were now prisoners in their own homes. Day had brought evidence. Video recordings showed Vraxian military commanders planning the invasion months in advance. Communication logs proved they knew humans lived there. They did not care. The evidence was clear and undeniable. Jiwoo, his young assistant, sat behind him. She was only 30 years old, new to the diplomatic service. She still believed the council would do the right thing. Day wished he could believe that too, but he had been here too long. He knew better. Chairman Vexlar stood at the center of the chamber. He was tall, made of living crystal that caught the light from the neutron star outside. His species had been part of the council for 2,000 years. They considered themselves wise and fair. Day thought they were just old and tired. The evidence has been reviewed, Vexlar announced. His voice echoed through the chamber like breaking glass. The council finds it interesting but not conclusive. Day felt his stomach drop. Not conclusive? The Varaxians had written down their plans. They had recorded their meetings. How could that not be conclusive? Furthermore, Vexlar continued, the Varaxian delegation has presented ancient territorial claims to these regions. The claims date back 300 years, before humans arrived in this sector. Those claims were abandoned, Day said. His voice was steady, but inside he was screaming. They left those worlds empty for 3 centuries. International law states that abandoned claims expire after 50 years. The Council itself established that law. The law is complex, Ambassador, Vexlar replied. Perhaps humanity should have been more careful about where they settled. These disputes happen when species expand too quickly without proper research. Behind Day, Jiwoo made a small sound of disbelief. He knew how she felt. The council was blaming them, blaming the victims. We did research, Day said. We checked the territorial registries. Those worlds were marked as unclaimed. We followed every rule. We did everything right. Nevertheless, violence is not the answer, Vexlar said. The council calls for peaceful negotiation. Humanity will withdraw from the disputed worlds and compensate the Vraxian Empire for the administrative costs of this situation. The chamber erupted in electronic chirps, translated voices, and alien sounds of agreement. Species after species voted yes. Yes to rewarding aggression. Yes to punishing humanity for being attacked. Yes to telling 2 million humans they had to leave their homes. Day watched the votes come in. The Luxarians voted yes. The Matharians voted yes. Even the Palesh, who humanity had saved from a plague just 5 years ago, voted yes. The final count was 104 to 23. Humanity lost. Jiwoo leaned forward and whispered, Sir, we should request a formal appeal. We can gather more evidence, we can— No, Day said quietly. He stood up slowly. The chamber was still noisy with celebration and discussion. No one was paying attention to the human ambassador anymore. Why would they? The decision was made. Humanity would comply as they always did. Day reached up and unpinned the council insignia from his uniform. It was a small piece of metal, shaped like interlocking rings representing unity among species. He had worn it every day for 15 years. He had believed in what it stood for. He walked to the central podium where Vexlar stood, the crystal being looked down at him with what might have been curiosity. Day placed the insignia on the podium with a soft click. The sound was tiny, but somehow the entire chamber fell silent. Ambassador, Vexilar asked. What is the meaning of this? Day looked up at him. Then he looked around the chamber at all the species who had just voted against humanity. His voice was calm and clear. Humanity withdraws from this council. The silence lasted for exactly 3 seconds. Then everyone started talking at once. Vexilar's crystalline form actually flickered with surprise. You cannot simply withdraw, Vexilar said. There are procedures, forms to file, committees to address. You must, Day repeated. We must follow your rules? We must accept your decisions? We must watch while you reward those who attack us? He shook his head. No, we are done following your rules. This is political theater, Vexilar announced loudly, trying to regain control. Ambassador Day is upset by the ruling. Understandable. But humanity has been a valued member of this council for 23 years. They will reconsider this emotional outburst. 23 years, Day agreed. 23 years of being the ones who compromise, the ones who give in, the ones who lose. Every single time there was a conflict, we were told to be reasonable, to see the other side, to make sacrifices for peace. His voice grew harder. Well, we are done sacrificing. You want peace? Find someone else to pay for it. He turned and walked toward the exit. Jiwoo scrambled to follow him, gathering their documents and files. She looked shocked, her face pale. Behind them, the chamber erupted into chaos. Species demanded explanations. Others called for sanctions. Vexilar tried to restore order, but his voice was drowned out by the noise. In the shuttle bay, Jiwoo finally found her voice. Sir, what just happened? We cannot just leave the council, the economic implications alone. They have been counting on us to stay no matter how badly they treat us, Day said as they boarded the shuttle. They think we need them more than they need us. Let us see if that is true. What about the colonies? The Vraxians will... The colonies will be fine, Day said. Something in his voice made Jiwoo look at him sharply. He smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. The council thinks we are weak because we choose diplomacy. They are about to learn the difference between weakness and restraint. The shuttle lifted off. Through the window they could see the council chamber, still lit up and chaotic. Ships from dozens of species were docked around it. It looked like the center of the galaxy, the place where important decisions were made. Day turned away from the window. He opened a secure communication channel to Earth. When Admiral Hana's face appeared on the screen, he said only 4 words. Operation Homecoming is authorized. Hana's smile was sharp and dangerous. Understood. It will be our pleasure. The communication ended. Jiwoo stared at Day. What is Operation Homecoming? The council wanted us to negotiate a peaceful withdrawal, Day said. They wanted us to abandon our people and compensate the Vraxians for attacking us. He settled back in his seat. We are going to show them what happens when humanity stops negotiating. The shuttle jumped to hyperspace, leaving the council station behind. In the chamber they had just left, 127 species continued to argue about what humanity's withdrawal meant. But none of them, not even Vexilar with all his centuries of experience, truly understood what was coming. Humanity had spent 23 years playing by the council's rules. Now they were going to play by their own. And the galaxy was about to learn what that really meant. 6 weeks had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Council. In those 6 weeks, the galaxy had learned what silence truly meant. Admiral Hana stood on the bridge of the EDS Thunderstrike, humanity's largest warship. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of 47 human vessels scattered across 3 star systems. They were all invisible to enemy sensors. The stealth technology had been developed over 20 years in secret labs on Europa. The Council had never known it existed. Admiral, the Vraxian fleet has entered the target zone, reported her tactical officer. Hana studied the display. 18 Vraxian warships moving in standard formation. They were heading to occupy 2 more human colonies, expecting no resistance. After all, humanity had left the Council. Who would defend these worlds now? Captain Taesung, you are cleared for engagement, Hana said calmly. On another ship, the destroyer Shadowwind, Captain Taesung smiled. His vessel was one of 12 stealth destroyers built specifically for this kind of operation. The Vraxians could not see them, could not hear them, could not detect them at all. All ships commence Operation Homecoming, Taesung ordered. The battle lasted 9 minutes. The Vraxian ships never got a chance to fight back. Human vessels appeared on their sensors for exactly 3 seconds before launching weapons. Then they vanished again. By the time the Vraxians tried to return fire, their targets were gone and their own ships were crippled. One Vraxian cruiser managed to send a distress signal before its communications array was destroyed. The message was simple and terrified. Under attack by unknown forces. Cannot identify enemy. Cannot. Then silence. 3 days later, Admiral Sujin of the Vraxian Empire stood before her high command. She was a decorated officer with 40 years of service. She had fought in 6 wars, but she had never seen anything like this. "We have lost 18 ships," she reported. "No debris, no survivors. They simply vanished from our sensors." "Pirates?" suggested one of the generals. "No pirate force has this capability," Sujin replied. "Analysis of the brief sensor data we receive suggest human technology." The room fell silent. Then someone laughed. "Humans, impossible. We have seen their military. Standard vessels. Nothing special. They build cargo ships, not warships." Sujin wanted to believe that, but then reports started coming in from their colonies. Human ships had been detected in orbit. Not many, just a few, but they were there, watching, waiting. On Earth, in a secure facility beneath Geneva, Counselor Yuna reviewed the operation results. She had been the head of human intelligence for 12 years. She knew every secret humanity had kept from the Council, and there were many secrets. The weapons humanity showed the Council were export models, reliable, effective, but nothing special. The real weapons stayed hidden. Stealth ships, advanced targeting systems, energy shields, kinetic barriers, weapons that could punch through any known armor. Humanity had been preparing for war while smiling and negotiating peace. "Counselor Ambassador Sujin has arrived," her assistant announced. Yuna looked up. "The Vraxian? Here on Earth?" She came alone. "Requesting urgent negotiations," Yuna smiled coldly. "Show her in." Ambassador Sujin looked nothing like the confident diplomat who had celebrated at the Council 6 weeks ago. She looked worried. Her scales, normally a bright green, had faded to a dull olive color, a sign of stress in her species. "Counselor Yuna, thank you for seeing me," Sujin began. "I come to discuss the recent incidents involving our fleets." "Incidents?" Yuna repeated. "Is that what you call invading our colonies?" "That was a misunderstanding." The Council approved nothing," Yuna interrupted. "The Council told us to abandon our people. We refused. You sent more ships. Those ships are now gone," Sujin swallowed. "We wish to negotiate a peaceful resolution. Perhaps we can return to the Council chambers. Discuss this properly, through diplomatic channels." Yuna stood and walked to the window. Outside, Earth looked peaceful and blue. Beautiful. But that beauty hid incredible strength. "You had your chance for diplomacy," Yuna said quietly. 6 weeks ago, Ambassador Day presented evidence of your planned invasion. The Council ignored it. "They told us to leave our colonies and pay you compensation." She turned to face Sujin. "Now you face humanity's alternative." "What alternative?" Sujin asked. "We stop talking and start acting," Yuna replied. "Your troops have 72 hours to evacuate our 3 colonies. After that, any Vraxian military presence in human space will be removed. Permanently. That is impossible. Our forces number in the tens of thousands. Your military cannot." "Cannot?" Yuna smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "Ambassador, you lost 18 ships 3 days ago. You never even saw what killed them. Do you really want to test what else humanity cannot do?" Sujin said nothing. What could she say? 60 hours later, Colonel Sang led the ground assault on New Phoenix, the first of the 3 occupied colonies. His troops moved with precision, supported by orbital bombardment from ships the Vraxians still could not see. The enemy tried to fight back, but their weapons were outdated, their tactics predictable, their equipment inferior. The liberation took 4 hours per colony. Total human casualties, 11 wounded, none killed. Vraxian casualties, their pride. News spread fast. Within days, every species in the galaxy knew what happened. Humanity had crushed the Vraxian military without breaking a sweat. ships that could not be detected, weapons that could not be blocked, tactics that could not be countered. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. Chairman Vexlar tried to maintain order, but the chamber was chaos. Species demanded to know why humanity had hidden such advanced technology. Others asked why the Council had pushed humanity to this point. "This is unacceptable," Vexlar declared. "Humanity must be sanctioned. They have violated the peace. They have acted without Council authorization. They defended their colonies," interrupted Ambassador Tell from the Matharian League, something the Council refused to do. "The Council voted on this matter," Vexlar said. "The decision was made legally, and humanity legally withdrew," Tell replied. "They are no longer bound by our decisions." A vote was called. Sanction humanity for its actions, yes or no. The result shocked everyone. 60 species abstained. They did not vote yes. They did not vote no. They simply refused to participate. The message was clear. The Council could not force anyone to fight humanity. Not anymore. Meanwhile, human embassies across the galaxy remained empty. Communication channels stayed silent. Trade ships did not arrive. Human merchants, engineers, doctors, teachers, all had been recalled to Earth. The galaxy was experiencing what it meant when humanity simply stopped participating. On some worlds, factories shut down because human technicians were not there to maintain them. On others, hospitals ran short on medicine because human pharmaceutical companies had stopped shipping. Trade routes became less efficient without human navigators and pilots. It was not dramatic. No explosions, no threats, just absence. But that absence was felt everywhere. Admiral Hana watched it all from Mars Station. Reports came in daily about the impact of humanity's withdrawal. Some species were panicking. Others were angry. Few were scared. Good, they should be scared. "Admiral, we are receiving inquiries from 7 Council species," her communications officer reported. "They are requesting direct talks with Earth, not through the Council." "Bilateral negotiations. Which species?" Hana asked. The officer listed them. 3 were minor powers. 2 were mid-tier trading nations. 1 was a major military force. All of them had voted against humanity at the Council. "Interesting," Hana said. "Forward their requests to the diplomatic corps. Let them wait a week before we respond." "A week, ma'am? That seems excessive." "They made us wait 23 years for fair treatment," Hana replied. "They can wait 7 days for a response." Back on Earth, former Ambassador Day gave an interview. It was broadcast across human colonies and picked up by alien news services. The journalist asked the obvious question. "Ambassador, do you regret your decision to withdraw from the Council?" Day smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. "I regret that we waited so long. For 23 years, we tried to be good members of the galactic community. We compromised. We sacrificed. We gave and gave and gave. And what did we get in return? When we needed help, we were told to solve it ourselves. When we were attacked, we were blamed for it. So humanity will never rejoin the Council?" "That depends," Day said. "Will the Council change? Will they treat all species fairly? Will they protect the weak instead of enabling the strong?" He shook his head. "Until then, humanity has better things to do than beg for scraps of respect." The interview went viral. Billions watched it. And slowly, carefully, some began to wonder, if humanity could walk away from the Council, what was stopping other species from doing the same? 3 months after humanity's withdrawal, the cracks in the Galactic Council were becoming impossible to ignore. Director Hyun sat in her office on Earth, reviewing reports from across the galaxy. Each one told the same story. Without humanity, things were falling apart. The economic data was brutal. 40% of all galactic trade had moved on human vessels. Those ships were now gone, recalled to human space. Trade routes that took 3 days now took 3 weeks. Shipping costs had tripled. Some colonies were running short on basic supplies, but it went deeper than trade. Human engineers had maintained infrastructure on 200 worlds. Power plants, water treatment facilities, communication networks, all of it designed or upgraded by humans. Now those engineers were gone and the systems were failing. Worst of all was the medical technology. Humanity had developed nanosurgery, regeneration treatments, and disease cures that other species relied on. The patents were human. The manufacturing was human. The supply chain was human. And now it was all cut off. Hyun's assistant brought in another report. Director, the Sanctuary Worlds are requesting emergency talks. Their prelate Vesh is asking to come to Earth personally. What is their situation? Hyun asked. Medical crisis. Their hospitals use our nanosurgery technology. They have about 6 weeks of supplies left. Hyun considered this. The Sanctuary Worlds were peaceful. They had voted against the Vraxian seizure of human colonies. They had been one of the few council members to support humanity. Tell Prelate Vesh he is welcome, Hyun said. Schedule the meeting for next week. Meanwhile, in the council chamber, Chairman Vexlar was losing control. The Vraxian ambassador was demanding action against humanity. Again, they humiliated us, the Vraxian shouted. They destroyed our fleet, invaded our territory. This council must respond. They liberated their own colonies, countered Ambassador Tell of the Matharian League. Colonies that you illegally seized. The council approved our territorial claim. The council made a mistake, Tell said flatly. We sided with an aggressor and punished the victim. Now we are paying the price for that decision. Vexlar tried to restore order. The motion before us is clear. Economic sanctions against humanity until they agree to rejoin the council and accept our authority. All in favor? Only 34 species voted yes. 60 abstained. The motion failed. Vexlar's crystalline form flickered with barely controlled anger. This council is falling apart. Since humanity left, we cannot make decisions. We cannot enforce our will. Species are negotiating with Earth directly, ignoring this body entirely. Perhaps, said a quiet voice from the back. That should tell us something. The speaker was Ambassador Loth, from a minor species that usually never spoke. For 23 years, humans mediated our disputes. They provided aid during disasters. They built infrastructure. They protected trade routes. We took all of that for granted. We thought they did it because they were weak, because they needed our approval. Loth looked around the chamber. We were wrong. On Earth, Senator Nari was giving a speech to the human parliament. She was young and charismatic, and her message was simple. Humanity should turn inward, focus on human space, let the galaxy handle its own problems. For too long, we have spent our resources helping aliens who do not appreciate us, Nari declared. We built their infrastructure while our own colonies went without. We protected their trade while our own economy suffered. We gave and gave and gave, and what did we receive? Contempt. The crowd cheered. Nari's isolationist movement was gaining support every day. Many humans were tired of galactic politics. Why bother with aliens who treated them so poorly? But not everyone agreed. Former Ambassador Day watched the speech from his home in Seoul. He understood Nari's anger. He felt it too. But complete isolation was not the answer. Humanity was strong enough to chart its own course. That did not mean abandoning everyone. A week later, Prelate Vesh arrived on Earth. He was an elderly being, his species equivalent of 150 years old. He had led the Sanctuary Worlds for 3 decades, always advocating for peace and compassion. When he met with Director Hyun, he did not demand. He asked, Director, I come not as a council member but as a leader trying to save my people. We need your nanosurgery technology. Our hospitals are failing. People are dying. Hyun studied the old prelate. Your world voted for the Vraxian territorial claim. No, Vesh said firmly. We abstained. We could not support the Vraxians, but we also could not oppose the council majority. It was cowardice, I admit. But we did not vote against you. Hyun checked the records. He was right. The Sanctuary Worlds had abstained, one of only 23 species to do so. What are you offering in return? Hyun asked. Vesh spread his hands. Whatever you need. Trade agreements. Military basing rights. Cultural exchange. We are not a powerful species, Director. We cannot offer much. But what we have is yours if you will help us. Hyun made a decision. We will supply your hospitals. We will send medical teams to train your doctors. We will establish a direct supply line that bypasses council trade routes entirely. Vesh looked stunned. You will? But what do you want in return? Your friendship, Hyun said simply. When the council asks why you are working with humanity, tell them the truth. Tell them we helped you when they did not. Tell them we asked for nothing but respect. Word of the deal spread quickly. Humanity was willing to trade, to cooperate, to help, but only with species who approached them as equals. Only with nations who asked instead of demanded. Within a month, 3 more species had signed exclusive agreements with Earth. then 5 more, then 10. Each agreement was bilateral. Each one bypassed the council completely. Chairman Vexillar watched his authority crumble. Species were making their own deals, ignoring council trade regulations, setting up independent diplomatic relationships. The entire structure he had led for 200 years was falling apart. He called an emergency meeting of senior council members. We must act decisively. If humanity continues to undermine our authority, other species will follow their example. The council will become meaningless. It already is meaningless, said Ambassador Tell bluntly. In the 3 months since humanity left, we have accomplished nothing. Every proposal is blocked. Every decision is delayed. Species are afraid to take positions because they might anger Earth. Then we make them choose, Vexillar said. Any species that signs a treaty with humanity will be expelled from the council. Tell laughed. It was a bitter sound. And how many species do you think will choose us over them? We offer bureaucracy and committees. They offer technology, protection, and fair trade. Which would you choose? The question hung in the air. No one answered. On Earth, former Ambassador Day gave another interview. This one was different, more measured, less angry. People ask me if I regret withdrawing from the council, Day said. The answer is no. But I also do not want to see the galaxy fall into chaos. The council served a purpose once. It brought species together. It prevented wars. Those are good things. The interviewer leaned forward. Are you saying humanity might rejoin? I am saying the galaxy needs a place where species can meet as equals, where disputes are resolved fairly, where might does not make right. Day paused. The council could be that place. But it has to change. It has to treat all members with respect, not just the powerful ones. And if it does not change? Day smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. Then humanity and our allies will build something better. We have already started. 17 species have joined what we call the Free Trade Coalition. Not a government. Not an empire. Just nations who choose to work together without someone forcing them to. The interview went viral again. This time the reaction was different. Hope. Some species saw a different path forward. One where they were not bound by ancient rules and corrupt politics. In the council chamber, as Day's words spread across 1,000 worlds, Chairman Vexillar realized something terrible. He had spent 200 years building his authority. Humanity had torn it down in 3 months. Not with weapons or threats, but by offering something the council never could. A choice. 8 months after humanity walked away from the Galactic Council, the old order was collapsing. Not with violence or war, but with a quiet exodus. Species were leaving. One by one, they chose independence over bureaucracy. Ambassador Jiwoo stood in the New Earth Diplomatic Center in Geneva. Around her, representatives from 30 different species negotiated treaties, not council treaties, bilateral agreements between sovereign nations. Each species talked directly with Earth, setting their own terms, making their own choices. Ambassador, the Pelesh delegation has agreed to your terms, her assistant reported. They are signing the Mutual Defense Pact today. Jiwoo smiled. The Pelesh. 5 years ago, humanity had saved them from a plague. At the council vote about the Vraxian invasion, they had voted against humanity. But now they were back asking for help. This time they approached as equals. This time, they understood what respect meant. Far from Earth, Admiral Hana commanded a fleet protecting the trade routes between human space and allied territories. Her ships moved in coordinated formations, always visible, always ready. This was not like the stealth operation against the Vraxians. This was a statement. Humanity protects its friends. Admiral, sensors are detecting unidentified ships, her tactical officer reported. 3 vessels. Configuration matches Talon Syndicate raiders. Hana studied the display. The Talon Syndicate. Pirates who once feared human fleets. But humanity had left the council. The council's protection had collapsed. Now the pirates were getting bold again, testing boundaries, seeing what they could get away with. What is their target? Hana asked. Civilian convoy. 20 cargo ships. They are carrying medical supplies to the sanctuary worlds. Are those ships under our protection? Yes, ma'am. Free Trade Coalition vessels. Hana nodded. Then let us remind the galaxy what happens when someone threatens our allies. All ships, battle stations. The engagement lasted 11 minutes. The pirates never expected human warships to respond so fast. They tried to run, but human vessels were faster. They tried to fight, but human weapons were stronger. When it ended, 2 pirate ships were disabled and drifting. The third had fled at maximum speed. "Send a message to Warlord Kresh," Hana ordered. "Tell him that any Talon Syndicate vessel found within 10 light-years of Free Trade Coalition space will be destroyed. No warnings, no negotiations." The message was delivered. Kresh, the warlord who led the Talon Syndicate, was furious, but he was not stupid. He knew when he was outmatched. The raids on Coalition space stopped immediately. In the council chamber, news of the pirate attack caused panic. Not because pirates had attacked, that happened sometimes, but because the council had failed to respond. "The raid happened 11 hours ago," Ambassador Tell said. "Where were our defense fleets? Why did it take us 11 hours to even know about it?" Chairman Vexlar shifted uncomfortably. "Our response protocols require committee approval. The Defense Committee meets twice per week." The humans responded in 4 hours," Tell interrupted. "From when the pirates were detected to when they were neutralized." 4 hours. We needed 11 hours just to file a report." The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew what Tell was really saying. When humanity was part of the council, response times were faster. Human fleets patrolled trade routes. Human intelligence networks detected threats early. Human tactical doctrine emphasized speed and decisiveness. All of that was gone now, and the galaxy was less safe because of it. Meanwhile, the Free Trade Coalition was growing rapidly. 30 species had signed treaties with Earth, then 40, then 50. Each one brought something valuable. The Palesh contributed medical research. The Sanctuary Worlds shared agricultural technology. The Metharian League provided raw materials. It was a network of mutual benefit, not enforced contribution. Ambassador Jiwoo held a press conference to announce the coalition's principles. Simple rules that everyone could understand. "First, membership is voluntary," she said. "Any species can join. Any species can leave. No one is forced to stay. Second, all members are equal. Large nations and small nations have the same voice, the same vote, the same rights. Third, we do not resolve disputes by majority vote. We mediate, we negotiate, we find solutions that work for everyone. If no solution can be found, both parties are free to leave. Fourth, we protect each other. An attack on one member is treated as an attack on all, but we do not start wars. We end them." The principles spread across the galaxy, simple, clear, fair. Many species compared them to council rules and found the council lacking. The Vraxian Empire tried to rebuild its military strength, but they discovered a problem. Their ships were built using human technology. Engines from human corporations. Weapon systems designed by human engineers. Life support maintained by human technicians. When humanity withdrew, the technical support ended. The spare parts stopped arriving. The software updates ceased. Slowly, the Vraxian fleet began to degrade. Ships broke down. Weapons malfunctioned. By the 8th month, their fleet effectiveness had dropped by 60%. Admiral Su Jin, who had once celebrated humanity's humiliation at the council, now faced the consequences. She could not rebuild without human help. She could not maintain what she had. The empire that had seemed so strong was revealed to be dependent on the very species they had attacked. A border dispute erupted between two council members. The Krell Dominion and the Pax Unity had argued over a resource-rich star system for decades. Usually the council mediated, but this time the mediation failed. Committee after committee debated. Vote after vote was split. Weeks passed with no resolution. Then the shooting started. Krell warships fired on Pax mining stations. Pax forces retaliated. Within days, a full war had broken out, and the council could do nothing but watch. The Pax Unity, desperate and losing, sent a message to Earth, not to the council, to Earth directly. They asked for help. They asked Admiral Hana to intervene. Hana reviewed the situation. The Pax had voted against humanity at the council. They had sided with the Vraxians. They had no treaty with Earth. Why should humanity help them? But then she read the rest of the message. The Pax were willing to join the Free Trade Coalition. They were willing to sign a mutual defense pact. They were asking for help as equals, not demanding it as a right. "Director Hyun, what are your orders?" Hana asked on a secure channel. Hyun considered carefully. This was a test. If humanity helped, they would be seen as peacekeepers again. But they would also demonstrate that the coalition was real. That membership meant something. Help them, Hyun decided. But make it clear this is a coalition operation, not a human one. And invite the Krell to join the coalition too. Give them a way out that does not involve losing face. Admiral Hana took 3 ships to the contested system. Just 3. She could have brought 50, but that was not the point. The point was to show strength without overwhelming force. When she arrived, both sides stopped fighting. Both sides knew human capabilities. Both sides knew they could not win against human technology. Hana mediated. She listened to both sides. She found a compromise. The system would be shared. Resources divided fairly. A neutral monitoring station would prevent future conflicts. The whole operation took 6 hours. From arrival to ceasefire to signed agreement. 6 hours. The Pax Unity joined the Free Trade Coalition immediately. The Krell Dominion took 3 days to decide. But they joined too. Both species publicly announced their decision. The message was clear. The Council took weeks to fail. Humanity took hours to succeed. Council analysts started digging through old records. What they found was shocking. Over the past 23 years, humanity had mediated 70% of all disputes. They had provided 85% of disaster relief. They had funded 40% of Council operations. The Council had not just lost a member. They had lost their foundation. Chairman Vexlar read the reports in his private chambers. For 200 years, he had believed the Council was essential to galactic stability. Now he realized the truth. The Council had been coasting on humanity's efforts. They had taken credit for human work. They had dismissed human complaints while depending on human competence. And when humanity finally said no, everything fell apart. 63 species had now joined the Free Trade Coalition. The Council had 127 members once. Now it had 64. And that number was dropping every week. Vexlar called an emergency session of his senior advisors. We need to face reality. The Council is dying. If we do nothing, it will be gone within a year. Then we need to change, Ambassador Tell said. Fundamentally change. Become what humanity is building with the coalition. Fair, fast, flexible. That would mean admitting we were wrong, another advisor said. We were wrong, Vexlar said quietly. I was wrong. I dismissed humanity because they were young, new to the galaxy. I thought their willingness to compromise was weakness. I did not realize it was strength under control. He looked around the room. They removed that control. Now we see what they are truly capable of, and it terrifies me. The room was silent. Then we have only one option, Tell said. We go to Earth, we ask them to help us rebuild. Not as subordinates, but as partners. We admit our mistakes and we ask for a second chance. Vexlar considered this. Everything in him resisted. He was chairman of the Galactic Council. His species had led the galaxy for millennia. 14 months after humanity withdrew from the Galactic Council, Chairman Vexlar arrived on Earth. He came alone, in a small diplomatic shuttle, without ceremony or guards. The leader of the galaxy's oldest institution was about to do something unprecedented. He was about to apologize. Former Ambassador Day met him in a simple conference room in Geneva. No grand hall, no impressive architecture. Just a table, 2 chairs, and a window overlooking the city. It was deliberately modest. A message without words. Vexlar sat down carefully. His crystalline form reflected the afternoon light, casting small rainbows on the walls. He looked old, tired, nothing like the confident chairman who had dismissed human concerns 14 months ago. Ambassador Day, Vexlar began. I come to... Former Ambassador, Day corrected gently. I no longer hold that position. Of course, Vexlar paused, gathering his thoughts. I come to offer an apology. On behalf of the Council. On behalf of myself. We were wrong. Day said nothing. He just waited. We took your cooperation for granted, Vexlar continued. We mistook your willingness to compromise for weakness. We allowed powerful species to bully weaker ones as long as those species were not us. We created a system that protected privilege, not justice. His voice cracked slightly. And when you finally said no, we learned how much we needed you. How much the entire galaxy needed you. Day leaned back in his chair. Is this where you ask us to rejoin the Council? Where you offer us special privileges to come back? I was going to, Vexlar admitted. I brought a formal proposal. Humanity would have a permanent seat. Veto power over major decisions. Control of the Security Council. Everything we should have offered years ago. He placed a datapad on the table. But I realize now that is not what you want. What do we want? Dai asked. Respect, Vexillar said simply. Not because you are strong, not because the galaxy needs you, but because every species deserves respect. That is what the Free Trade Coalition offers. That is what the Council never did. Day nodded slowly. You understand then. Good, that saves time. The Council is dying, Vexillar said. We have 52 members left. Most are only staying out of habit or fear of change. The Free Trade Coalition has 67 members and grows every week. Within a year, the Council will cease to exist. Is that a bad thing? Day asked. The question hung in the air. Vexillar considered it carefully. The Council served a purpose once. It ended wars. It provided a forum for cooperation. But we became corrupt, not with money or bribes, but with complacency. We stopped serving the galaxy and started serving ourselves. He met Day's eyes. So perhaps it is not bad if the Council dies. But the galaxy still needs something. A place where species can meet, where conflicts can be resolved, where cooperation is possible. We have that, Day said. The Free Trade Coalition. Then let the Council join the coalition, Vexillar said. Dissolve the old structure. Rebuild it on your principles. Fair, fast, flexible. Make it what it should have been from the beginning. Day studied the old chairman. This was a surrender. Complete and total. Vexillar was offering to dismantle everything he had built over 2 centuries. Everything his species had controlled for millennia. I need to speak with my government, Day said finally. This is not my decision alone. 3 days later, Prime Minister Yoon addressed both Earth and the galaxy in a historic broadcast. She was young for a head of government, only 52 years old, but she had been in politics for 30 years and she understood power. 14 months ago, humanity walked away from the Galactic Council. We did not want to. We wanted to be part of the galactic community. We wanted to work with other species to build a better future together. Her voice was calm but firm, but we refused to be taken for granted. We refused to be the ones who always compromised, always sacrificed, always lost. Since then, we have built something new. The Free Trade Coalition is not perfect. It is not even finished. But it is based on principles that matter. Equality, fairness, respect, voluntary cooperation instead of forced compliance. Today, I announce that humanity will not rejoin the Galactic Council, because the Galactic Council as we knew it will cease to exist. The galaxy held its breath. Instead, we propose the formation of the Commonwealth of Free Worlds. Every species in the galaxy is invited to join. Every species will have an equal voice. No permanent members. No veto powers. No forced membership. Just sovereign nations choosing to work together. The Commonwealth will mediate disputes, but it will not impose solutions. It will coordinate mutual defense, but it will not start wars. It will facilitate trade, but it will not control economies. It will serve the species of this galaxy, not rule them. This is our offer. This is our vision. Join us in building something better. Or do not, the choice is yours. It always has been. We just forgot that for a while. The response was immediate. Within hours, 43 species announced they would join the Commonwealth. Within days, that number reached 89. By the end of the first week, 103 species had signed the founding charter. The old Galactic Council held one final session. Chairman Vexillar stood before an empty chamber. Most seats were vacant. Only a few dozen species remained, and even they looked ready to leave. I hereby dissolve the Galactic Council, Vexillar announced. After 2,847 years, this institution ends. Not with glory, but with humility. We failed in our purpose. We forgot why we existed. We have no one to blame but ourselves. He paused, looking around the chamber one last time. But from our failure, something better has emerged. I encourage all remaining council members to join the Commonwealth of Free Worlds. Learn from our mistakes. Build something worthy of this galaxy. The chamber was silent. Then slowly Ambassador Tell began to applaud. Others joined. Not a celebration, but an acknowledgement. An ending that led to a beginning. The Commonwealth of Free Worlds held its first assembly in a neutral location, a station built specifically for the purpose. The design was simple. No grand architecture. No impressive displays, just functional spaces where beings could meet and talk. Ambassador Jiwoo served as the first rotating chancellor, a one-year position that would pass to a different species each cycle. She opened the first session with simple words. Welcome to the Commonwealth. Here we have 3 rules. First, respect all species equally. Second, resolve conflicts through cooperation, not force. Third, remember that membership is a choice, not an obligation. She smiled. Everything else we will figure out together. It was not perfect. There were still disputes, still disagreements, still conflicts. But now they were handled differently, faster, fairer. With genuine effort to find solutions that worked for everyone, the Vraxian Empire, humbled and reformed, applied to join the Commonwealth. Admiral Sujin personally traveled to Earth to apologize for the invasion. It was a difficult conversation, but it ended with a handshake and a treaty. The Vraxians would become one of humanity's closest allies. Admiral Hana retired after 15 more years of service. She spent her final years teaching at the Commonwealth Military Academy, training the next generation of officers from 100 different species. Her lessons focused on a simple principle. Strength is not about how hard you can hit, but about when you choose not to. Counselor Yuna continued to lead human intelligence for another decade. Under her guidance, humanity maintained its technological edge, but now they shared more openly with trusted allies. The stealth technology that had crushed the Vraxians was eventually given to Commonwealth Defense Forces, not because humanity was weak, but because strong allies made everyone safer. Senator Nari's isolationist movement faded. Once other species started treating humanity with respect, the anger that fueled the movement disappeared. Nari herself admitted that isolation was born from pain, not principle. When the pain ended, so did the need to withdraw. 20 years after humanity walked away from the Galactic Council, former Ambassador Day gave his final interview. He was 78 years old, his hair completely white, but his mind was still sharp. "Do you regret how it happened?" the interviewer asked. "The confrontation? The conflict? Could it have been handled differently?" Day thought about this carefully. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that we had to walk away to be heard. But I do not regret the result. Humanity spent 23 years being polite, and it bought us nothing but contempt. We spent 14 months being strong, and it bought us respect. Some species say humanity was too aggressive, that you pushed too hard. Those species were the ones benefiting from the old system," Day replied. "They liked a council where they could take advantage of others, where might made right, where the powerful could ignore the weak." He shook his head. "We did not destroy that system through aggression. We destroyed it by refusing to support it, by showing there was a better way." "What advice would you give to future generations, both human and alien?" Day smiled. "Respect is not given to those who beg for it. Respect is earned by those willing to walk away. Know your worth, understand your strength, and never be afraid to say no." The interview ended. Day died peacefully 2 years later, surrounded by family. His funeral was attended by representatives from 127 species. Former Chairman Vexlar traveled to Earth personally to pay his respects. At the service, Vexlar gave a short speech. "Ambassador Day taught the galaxy a lesson we desperately needed.